September 2025. Norton Motorcycles just killed the Commando 961, the bike that symbolized their resurrection after bankruptcy. The V4 superbike, dead. The V4 cafe racer, gone. Every model Norton built for the past 5 years, erased. At EICMA in Milan, TVS Motor Company will unveil an entirely new Norton lineup. Not updated versions, not improved models. Completely new motorcycles with nothing connecting them to Norton's 127-year heritage except the badge on the tank. This isn't a revival story. This is something far more controversial. An Indian conglomerate that bought a dying British icon for £16 million is now betting $200 million that they can rebuild Norton from scratch. Without the Commando, without the heritage that made Norton legendary, and without asking permission from the purists who believe they're destroying everything Norton stands for. The question dividing the motorcycle world right now: is TVS saving Norton or killing what made Norton worth saving in the first place? Chapter 1. The collapse nobody could save. To understand what's at stake, you need to understand how spectacularly Norton collapsed. Founded in 1898, Norton survived 2 world wars, economic depressions, and the Japanese motorcycle invasion of the 1970s. But by 2020, Norton was a hollowed-out shell run by a director who used pension funds to finance operations and left customers waiting years for motorcycles they'd paid for. In January 2020, administrators from BDO took control. Norton owed £16 million to creditors. Over 300 customers had paid for bikes that were never delivered. The Donington Hall factory, Norton's home since 2013, was locked. Workers went home not knowing if they'd ever return. For 18 months, Norton Motorcycles legally didn't exist. The brand that won 34 Isle of Man TT races, that built the Dominator and the legendary 750 Commando, that represented British engineering excellence for over a century, was effectively dead. And then India came calling. The rescue that wasn't what it seemed. April 2021, TVS Motor Company, India's 3rd largest motorcycle manufacturer with annual sales exceeding 4 million units, acquired Norton's assets for £16 million. TVS chairman Sudarshan Venu called it a moment of pride to own an iconic British brand. The motorcycle press celebrated. Norton was saved, British heritage rescued by Indian investment. The fairy tale revival story everyone wanted to believe. But here's what the press releases didn't emphasize. TVS didn't just buy Norton to preserve it, they bought it to transform it. And transformation means destroying the old to build something new. Chapter 2. The Uncomfortable Revival. TVS moved fast. In May 2022, they announced a £100 million investment to restart Norton production at a new facility in Solihull. By 2024, that investment commitment had grown to £200 million. More than 12 times what they paid to acquire the brand. Think about that math. TVS valued the Norton badge at $16 million, but immediately committed $100 million to restart production. That's not a rescue operation. That's a complete reconstruction with the Norton name as the foundation. The revived Commando 961 returned to market in 2023. Reviews were positive. The bike worked. Quality was better than the pre-administration chaos. TVS brought Indian manufacturing discipline to British engineering chaos, and the result was actually impressive. But here's what Norton purists started noticing. The new Commando felt different. Ride-by-wire throttle replaced the mechanical connection. Traction control and riding modes appeared. Technology that old-school Norton riders considered unnecessary electronic interference. The bike was better engineered, more reliable, more modern, and that's exactly what worried them. The numbers that don't add up. TVS claimed Norton would scale to profitable production levels, but they never published actual sales figures. Motorcycle News reported waiting lists for certain models. Dealers mentioned strong interest, but hard numbers, nothing official. Industry analysts estimate Norton produced somewhere between 500 and 1,000 bikes annually under TVS ownership. That's respectable for a premium heritage brand, but it's microscopic compared to TVS's 4 million unit annual production. Norton represents less than 0.025% of TVS's total output. So why invest £200 million in a brand that sells fewer bikes than some manufacturers produce in a single day? Because TVS isn't buying production capacity. They're buying heritage, prestige, and access to Western premium markets where Indian brands still face skepticism. Norton's British pedigree opens dealership doors that TVS alone never could. The question is, at what cost to Norton's identity? Chapter 3. Everything Must Die. September 2025. Norton Motorcycles issued a statement that shocked the motorcycle world. Immediate end of production for the Commando 961, the V4SV Superbike, and the V4CR Cafe Racer. Every single model in Norton's lineup. Deleted. The reasoning? Quote, to clear the path for an all-new product lineup to be unveiled at EICMA 2025, reflecting Norton's future direction under TVS stewardship. Let that language sink in. Not updated models. Not next-generation Commandos. An all-new product lineup. Norton's future direction. Under TVS stewardship. This is corporate speak for, we're starting over, and the old Norton is finished. The Commando name, Norton's most iconic model, in continuous production since 1968 in various forms, might not even survive. The V4 Superbike program that cost millions to develop, abandoned after just a few years of production. Motorcycle forums exploded. Norton owner groups filled with confusion and anger. Heritage advocates accused TVS of destroying Norton's soul to replace it with TVS engineering wearing a Norton badge. And TVS's response? Silence. Just wait for EICMA. The Commando name first appeared in 1968 on the Norton Commando 750. A bike that would define Norton's identity for decades. The featherbed frame, the parallel twin engine, the distinctive fuel tank. These elements made Norton visually and mechanically distinct from Japanese, Italian, or American competitors. Even after Norton's various bankruptcies and ownership changes, the Commando survived. It was the Norton. Ask anyone to picture a Norton motorcycle, and they imagine something resembling a Commando. TVS revived the Commando in 2023. Improved it, sold it for 2 years, and then killed it completely. No farewell edition. No final special model. Just production ended in a press release. To Norton purists, this feels like betrayal. TVS used the Commando name to rebuild credibility after the 2020 collapse, then discarded it the moment they were ready to implement their real plan. The bike that saved Norton has been erased from Norton's future. The controversy. Was the revived Commando just a temporary bridge to buy TVS time while they developed completely different motorcycles? Or was ending the Commando the right decision to prevent Norton from being trapped forever in retro nostalgia? Chapter 4. The EICMA Gamble. What TVS Won't Tell Us Yet. November 4th, 2025. That's when TVS will reveal Norton's future at EICMA in Milan. Until then, everything is speculation, leaks, and educated guesses based on TVS's existing product lineup and patent filings. Here's what we know. TVS announced plans for 6 new Norton models to launch between 2025 and 2028. The first model debuts at EICMA. Each bike will be created with a focus on dynamism, design, and detail, corporate language that tells us nothing concrete. Industry rumors suggest a new 650 cubic centimeter platform derived from TVS's existing Apache and Ronin engines, which power millions of bikes across India and Southeast Asia. This engine produces around 47 horsepower in current form, solid for a middleweight bike, but hardly exotic. If Norton's future is built on TVS's mass-market 650 platform, that's efficient engineering and smart parts sharing. It's also the complete opposite of Norton's traditional approach of expensive, low-volume bespoke engineering. Patent filings show TVS developing ride modes, connectivity features, and smartphone integration. Technology that makes perfect sense for 2025 but has zero connection to Norton's heritage of mechanical purity. The other speculation dominating Norton forums: will TVS make Norton electric? TVS already produces electric scooters in India. They have EV technology and manufacturing experience. Premium European brands are rushing into electric motorcycles to meet emissions regulations. An electric Norton would make strategic sense for TVS. It would position Norton as forward-thinking rather than backward-looking. It would differentiate Norton from other retro British brands stuck in combustion nostalgia. and it would justify the massive investment by targeting the growing premium EV motorcycle market. But an electric Norton would also sever the last connection to Norton's heritage, the sound, the vibration, the mechanical character that defined Norton motorcycles for 127 years. Gone, replaced by instant torque and silent motors. Some would call that progress. Others would call it the final betrayal of everything Norton represented. The truth, we'll know in 2 months. Chapter 5. The competition is watching. Why this matters beyond Norton. TVS's Norton gamble isn't happening in isolation. This is one battle in a larger war over who controls premium motorcycle heritage and how that heritage gets commercialized. Triumph, Norton's British rival, remains independent and profitable by updating classic designs with modern technology. The Bonneville line proves you can honor heritage while embracing evolution. Triumph sells tens of thousands of bikes annually while maintaining British identity. Royal Enfield took a different path. This Indian brand bought British heritage decades ago, manufactures everything in India, and now sells 500,000 bikes globally at affordable prices. Royal Enfield's Continental GT and Interceptor models target the same retro-styled segment Norton once dominated, but at half the price Norton charged. Then there's Benelli, bought by Chinese manufacturer Tianjiang, producing Italian-designed bikes in Chinese factories. And Bra Superior, revived by another manufacturer using the name of a legendary British brand that went extinct in 1940. The pattern is clear. Asian manufacturers are acquiring Western heritage brands to enter premium markets, but success rates are mixed. Some revivals create viable businesses, others produce expensive failures that damage the heritage they claim to preserve. TVS's investment restarted British motorcycle manufacturing at Solihull. Reports suggest Norton employs between 100 and 250 workers in the UK. Exact figures aren't public. TVS has reopened apprenticeship programs and claims commitment to British manufacturing. But here's the uncomfortable reality. TVS operates massive factories in India with far lower labor costs. They could manufacture Norton motorcycles in India, ship them to the UK for final assembly, and technically call them British-built while minimizing British labor content. Will Norton remain substantially British manufactured, or will it become final assembly only with most components sourced globally? TVS hasn't provided details about supply chain strategy or what percentage of value added happens in the UK versus India versus global suppliers. The economic nationalism question: does it matter where Norton motorcycles are built if the brand survives and the bikes are good? Or is British built essential to Norton's identity and value proposition? Chapter 6. The controversy nobody will address. What heritage actually means. This is where the Norton TVS story gets philosophically messy. What exactly is TVS preserving by owning Norton? If Norton's new models share no components, no design language, no mechanical DNA with previous Norton motorcycles, if the only connection is the badge on the fuel tank, then what's being preserved? The heritage? Or just a brand name attached to completely different motorcycles? Norton purists argue that heritage isn't just intellectual property. It's the accumulated knowledge, design philosophy, and engineering approach that made Norton distinct. Featherbed frames. Parallel twin engines with specific character. British engineering priorities that differed from Japanese or Italian approaches. TVS's counterargument: Norton's heritage engineering led to bankruptcy. Multiple bankruptcies, actually. The romantic notion of preserving authentic Norton design philosophy ignores that this philosophy consistently produced bikes that couldn't compete commercially or be built reliably at profit. Harsh truth time. Norton went bankrupt because traditional Norton motorcycles couldn't succeed in modern markets. Too expensive to build, too difficult to maintain, too limited in appeal. Appealing to nostalgic buyers who want motorcycles exactly like they remember from decades ago isn't a business plan. It's a recipe for boutique-scale production that never achieves profitability. Maybe TVS is right to start completely fresh. Maybe the only way to save Norton is to destroy everything that made Norton what it was and rebuild from zero using modern engineering, modern manufacturing, and modern market realities. Or maybe that's just killing Norton and wearing its corpse as a marketing costume. The price versus value equation. The revived Commando 961 sold for approximately £17,995 in the UK, $18,995 in the US. Premium pricing for a middleweight parallel twin competing against Japanese bikes costing half as much with more power and better technology. Norton's value proposition was heritage and exclusivity. You weren't just buying a motorcycle, you were buying a piece of British history, a badge that opened conversations, an identity statement that distanced you from the masses on mass-produced Japanese bikes. But here's the challenge. That value proposition only works if people believe Norton still represents authentic British heritage. The moment Norton becomes perceived as TVS-engineered bikes with Norton badges, the premium pricing becomes impossible to justify. This is TVS's tightrope walk. They need to modernize Norton enough to make it commercially viable, but not so much that they destroy the heritage cachet that justifies premium pricing. And based on the September announcement ending all current models, they've decided the only way forward is to risk destroying the old Norton completely. Chapter 7. The verdict nobody can agree on. Talk to Norton traditionalists, and you'll hear variations on the same argument. TVS bought Norton for the badge value, used the Commando name to rebuild credibility, and now they're implementing their real plan, turning Norton into a premium sub-brand for TVS-engineered motorcycles. The evidence supporting this view: complete discontinuation of all heritage models with no overlap to new lineup. Rumored shift to TVS 650 platform used in mass-market Indian bikes. Investment amount suggesting complete reinvention rather than evolution. Corporate language emphasizing future direction over honoring heritage. 2-year Commando revival that now seems like a temporary placeholder. From this perspective, Norton's name will survive, but Norton's soul is already dead. The new bikes will be competent, reliable, modern motorcycles wearing Norton badges, but they won't be Norton's in any meaningful sense beyond legal ownership of the trademark. One Access Norton forum member summarized it perfectly. TVS killed Norton and is now puppeting its corpse for profit. November 4th, 2025. TVS will reveal Norton's future. 6 new models over 3 years, a completely fresh start, the end of the Commando era, and the beginning of something nobody can quite predict yet. This is the most controversial moment in Norton's 127-year history because there's no clear right answer. Heritage purists and business pragmatists are both correct from their own perspectives. Norton's traditional approach led to bankruptcy. TVS's transformation might save the brand or destroy everything worth saving. The honest truth? We won't know for years whether TVS made the right decision. Success isn't measured in press releases. It's measured in whether people buy these new Norton motorcycles, whether Norton becomes profitable, and whether the bikes justify the premium pricing that heritage is supposed to support. But here's what we can decide right now. Do you believe heritage brands must preserve their design language and engineering philosophy, even if that limits commercial success? Or do you believe heritage brands must evolve radically to survive, even if that evolution erases what made them distinctive? The Norton story isn't over. But the Norton you knew? That might already be dead.